I wanted to start actually with a recap, kind of where we are and where we're going. Um, so actually, the first one, probably the biggest one in terms of looking forward, is I sent out an email on Thursday. If you didn't get it or didn't open it, I think I'll be resending it either today or tomorrow. Yeah, I just wanted to speak to what that was about, why it's happening. I mean, I wrote most of it in the email. Actually, did anyone not read it? Does anyone have no idea what I'm about to say? Awesome. That seems pretty good. Yeah, so after a few weeks, probably made the decision to transport the community over onto Circle. Um, yeah, really two core reasons for that. One, uh, current experience, clarity, customizability that we would have to actually do stuff here. Um, it's actually been kind of funny this week in particular because every time I open up the community page on my browser, it doesn't work. Like Mighty keeps crashing for me. And so I'm taking that as a kind of signal. I'm like, okay, this thing is not ready to hold the energy that we have here. So yeah, we're going to transition to Circle. It's going to be a little turbulent regardless. Like something like this, there's just a level of bumps that come inherently as part of the process. I made a kind of request in that for nothing other than some understanding as we communicate and make this happen, because I know come 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, and 3 years post this transition, I think it's going to be really, really good for everyone. I have spoken to the Circle team a bit more, and it's not the path forward is basically what I thought it would be. It's essentially, we're just going to send everyone a link and you're just going to have to register again. It's not possible for us to port over the existing subscriptions just on some backend tool, just because understandably Mighty and Circle do not talk to each other. They don't integrate with each other. So there are a few parts of it remaining for us to kind of figure out. One is that, I mean, I think different people in this community and in this group are on different subscription tiers depending on when you joined. I want to continue to honor that. So we're going to make a few links and I think just send them to everyone individually so that it points over whatever you're currently at. The other thing in my awareness that I don't view as a major problem, and I hope no one else does, is just the potential of being double charged, right? Because your Mighty subscription is still active and you'll be starting a new Circle one. The only thing I can really say to that is that I'm aware of it. And depending on when people sign up, how people sign up, if there is that potential, or if it does actually happen, we're just going to refund you like straight up. Yeah. I don't think there's much else. I don't think there's much else on Circle. Yeah, I outlined a few of the reasons why I'm excited about it. I think it lets us have a better mechanism to actually bring people in here and have people explore, particularly as stuff like courses and guest workshops and guest weekends start coming up on our calendars. And I mean, again, I don't know deeply what the experience has been for other people, but Mighty as an application has been somewhat tricky on my own end. Sometimes it crashes, sometimes it doesn't load stuff. There's just been some smaller parts like that where actually just from a usability, user experience perspective, I think Circle does a lot better of a job. And I've had the like kind of working prototype app on my phone for this week and then got super excited about it. So yeah, the Circle transition is coming, going to try to make it both as quick and as smooth as possible. It's kind of all I got there. The second point on recaps is I think it's actually worthwhile to speak to and actually even kind of check in with yourself just on what we have covered and what is kind of left for you to do in the themes that have already gone. Because one thing I'd like us to avoid is something like each month finding this like shiny little gem of like, oh, cold exposure, cool. You know, you play with it for 30 days and then like a child, you kind of put it down, get bored of it and leave it to collect dust in the corner. Certainly not the intention of the monthly themes. I think the ideal would be something like building layers, where you start with a foundation, right? It gets really cemented in, and then you add something on top, and you're basically building an awesome cake out of your life, but they all stay as a part of it. I think there's actually going to be a big part of that available to us with this one. And I agree with the consolidation sessions. We're gonna have a few more like open, I don't quite want to call them hangouts, but like open sessions coming up on the calendar so that we can really just arrive at whatever's personal and relevant for you. Yeah, the opportunity that I think the cold immersion month has here is that, largely understandably, not a lot of the actual practice is going to be done on these calls. I have a few activities for each week, but I mean, at the end of the day, cold shower is something that comes to you whenever you take a shower. It's not really for the calls, although I think we will do 1 or 2 sessions at some point this month where we actually take like a 20-minute break and go do it and come back. So sneak preview on that one. But the parts of these weekly calls that aren't going to be some of the practices, I'm probably going to focus on either leaning into discomfort or overcoming resistance. And I think it would be really powerful. I mean, you can use those principles for whatever the fuck is going on in your life, but you could also use them to revisit and reintegrate stuff that we've already covered, right? I was actually talking to a guy this week who I think we're going to invite for some guest sessions, Shamil, if anyone saw him at Metamorphosis. He was talking about how he's been pairing cold immersion with journaling, because after you come out of a cold exposure, you're super clear. Right? Your brain just like kind of goes in a short-term survival mode, clears itself out, and actually journaling after that is really powerful. So yeah, I think revisiting some of your own progress or obstacles around the rituals, some of your own progress or obstacles around the inner critic would be really powerful as a compliment for this month. Yeah. All right. So let's do cold stuff. I've got a few things. We're going to talk through basically what the plan is here, what this is going to look like. Today, I've got a few techniques that'll actually help with managing body heat, which can be both very nice in the shower, but particularly as preparation beforehand. My Ronin, and then have an accountability sheet that we can all get started on. First things first, I'd love a show of hands, and then if anyone has any comments on, have you ever messed around with cold showers, cold immersion before? And if so, is there anything you'd like to share around your own experiences, victories, calamities that have happened thus far? I mean, it seemed like a few. I saw 1, 2 hands there. 3. Yeah, Jesse.
So, my first experience with cold exposure was actually with you, Aaron, in the lake. And I remember saying, like, as we were standing in the water, I'm like, can I do this? Can I do this? Are you sure? And I really didn't feel like I could like go under the water. And you and Chloe are like, yeah, of course you can do it. Like, why are you asking? And I just like did it. And then I realized a mantra that I've been saying to myself for the past week as I've been taking cold showers is I can do hard things. And I just like stand there, like dance a little bit, like I can do hard things. I can do hard things, and yeah. So that's what it feels like to me.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into the I can do hard things. It's actually one of the reasons I'm most excited for this. It's probably the most straightforward monthly theme we've done so far, and I think that's actually part of what makes it so powerful. Yeah, Bailey, what's up?
I've been taking cold showers for a little under a year now. I found a really cool Wim Hof documentary like almost a year ago that just completely blew me away, and I now take them twice a day, every morning and night, and it's like the best part of my day. It increases my flexibility, makes me feel just super invigorated, and like you said before, it gives me a lot of mental clarity.
Yeah, got some experience. That's awesome. And yeah, I'll speak at some point after this of like kind of different ways you could approach this challenge. Like if you've never done it before, what you can do, if you have some experience, what you can do, and if you're like a daily user, what you might also consider doing. Yeah, because everyone's going to show up to this with different levels of exposure to it already. Yeah, Darius.
Yeah, so I guess it's an example that came to mind is honestly not really, it's related to cold showers, but not at all related to cold exposure or the challenge. But as I was like learning about how to take care of hair, this is where I learned about this. It was just like this fact that like, I guess like if your hair is really hot, like when you take a shower, it can actually like damage your hair. So one thing you can do is basically, instead of leaving your hair hot, you change the water to cold, and then you rinse your hair with the cold water, and that helps retain the structure of the hair. So just I guess like a random thing. That's how I got introduced to cold showers, I guess, was trying to like cool myself off, and then realizing like, oh, this is really intense. So
that's where the flow comes from. That's why it looks so good. I got it now. I got the secrets of the trade. Awesome. Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, my experience with cold showers, I started a couple of years ago. I started with like just counting until 150, and then it's done. And this was just the simplicity of it made it so I can do it every day. And then I feel like aspect I experiment with is like to get this sense of, okay, it's safe, like telling yourself it's safe, and then just allowing the thing happening. And but counting, I often come back to this counting because it's just like the faster I count, the faster it's over. And once I experiment also with when I did the Alexander technique a little more, where like finding the moment where I choose to go more with like a conscious choice to go into the cold, because when you're like on the side it's like less and the middle is more intense, and then you play like, okay, I choose now middle. So it was also fun play. And then the first years I did it was like always like this freshness, clarity afterwards. For some reason the last months I did it, it's the effect was not so much there. I mean, it's still there, but less. I don't know what that is about. And I do it like not every day anymore, but every time when I go to shower, it's always the option. The question is always there. Like, do it? Am I doing it now or not? It's like every time I ask a question, and then sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't do it. And so from my experience.
Yeah, combining Alexander technique with this would actually be fucking fantastic. And yeah, Michael's session should be in the Metamorphosis recordings if people haven't seen or don't know what Sam means by Alexander technique. That's okay. That's cool. I'm going to try that this month. holding an intention to do that. Yeah, Bailey.
I just wanted to add to Darius's point about the hair. That's actually because when I first started with the cold showers, I hated it, and it was really hard to get me to do it. But I learned that that it's significantly better for your hair to wash it in cold water. So I would take my hot shower, wash myself, wash my hair, and then change it to cold so I could get it all out. And it would force me to put my head and my whole body under the water. And eventually I just got to a point where I only wanted cold showers.
Damn, awesome. Yeah, Jesse.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I was just wondering, Darius, but do you shower first hot, or are you already at the point where you start with cold?
Not there yet.
I give my
I kind of do the same thing. Like, I'll start with the
Yeah, Bailey, what's up?
Oh, sorry, I was just responding to that. I start off with like a body rinse of hot water because it feels really nice, and then I shut off the water to wash, and then I change it to cold.
We're gonna have to write down all these protocols. It's awesome. Jesse.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I start with warm water, but I try to keep it off my hair completely. And then when I'm rinsing out my shampoo and my conditioner, I'll go like cold and then back to warm and then back to cold. So I get a little bit of like changing my body temperature. I also remembered another thing that the cold exposure has helped me with is like not resisting things that come up. So when I'm in the cold water, instead of like clenching my body and feeling really tense, I try to relax and like not resist it. And I found that I can actually apply that in other instances in my life. So like if I'm feeling really emotional and really tense about anything, like receiving criticism at work, I used to like just physically tense my whole body, and it would make it really difficult to manage. And just having that practice of like relaxing my body in response to the cold temperature has helped me relax my body in response to other kinds of stress.
Yeah, masterfully said. Yeah, that's been my experience as well. It's why I was excited to do this, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, on the surface, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to turn my hot water knob in my shower to cold. It seems like a very basic practice, but damn, it's basically like a living metaphor, right? Anything that you're not super stoked about doing, anything that you have a large amount of resistance doing, anything that is uncomfortable in the moment, yeah, if you can build the muscle of actually being like, yeah, I can do this. Like, let's go. And then actually, one sec. And then actually having the experience on the other side of cold showers where how good you feel, you're like, oh, okay, wow, you do this. It can lead to, I think, a huge reframing of actually wanting to go towards the things that make you uncomfortable, because you come out the other side, whatever, happier, stronger, clearer, confident. And cold showers are just a very potent, very powerful mechanism to kind of build that muscle. Okay, let's get into some of like this month. First things first, I mean, this is fairly important to start off with, I think, which is this is the first like physical month of focus that we've done. This is also, whether you believe it or not, the most dangerous month we've done so far. And I actually want people to like just be aware of this. This was actually, I think, one of the most correct criticisms of Wim Hof as he was starting to rise into popularity, which is like, yeah, cold exposure and ice immersion is serious fucking business. And again, if you have like an underlying heart condition, If you've ever suffered from like fainting, seizures before, like, you should, if you actually have either of those, probably talk to a doctor before doing this. If you have any specific questions about some of this stuff, you can message me. But yeah, just a moment to actually pause and be like, look, slipping and falling in the shower is not cool. Passing out is not cool. Hypothermia is not cool. So although, yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about the dojo in general with is like, yeah, we can collectively go towards things that make us uncomfortable, but yeah, also being aware and just being responsible of how we do it. Because yeah, I mean, if you, I'll talk to, again, some of the ways you can do this. Like if someone has access to a bath and they wanted to do an ice bath, like 10, 15, 20 minutes in ice has some serious ramifications on your body. So just being aware of where you're coming at this from and making sure we're careful, considerate, and cautious as we go about this. Doesn't mean that we should stop. Doesn't mean that you should use it as an excuse not to do it. But again, just a moment to be like, look, yeah, this is intense. This is serious practice, serious on your body. I mean, it's much like anything else, right? It's serious, but it can also be seriously positive. But just anything powerful has to be approached with respect and responsibility. Cool. With that said, yeah, just a quick map, I guess, on what a few of the ways that you can approach this. I think the first thing, I mean, many people here already shared this, having an understanding of where you're coming at this from, like your level of history as it relates to cold showers, cold immersion, ice exposure, because you can set your own kind of aim here. Basically, at the highest level, I think for everyone across the board, what we're going to do this month is gradually increase our exposure to cold and using cold as a kind of teacher, as a kind of metaphor, as a kind of practice. And gradually increasing it will look very different based on where you're coming from. So we can do, here are a few examples, and I'll write these out and put them in the community. But if you want to record them now, the one that works best for you, you certainly can. If you've never worked with cold showers or cold exposure before, I think the goal over this month could be working up to a completely cold shower from start to finish. If that's even a lot, you could just get into spending maybe 1, 2, 3 minutes at the end of showers, just standing in the cold. I think that's really solid. If you're already pretty established with at least having some cold in your shower routine, I think the move would be, it actually depends on how quickly you want to move. I think if you have some exposure to it, the best jump is probably to try to do a full one. Because at least personally for me, there was a huge gap between, oh yeah, let me start off hot and then go cold. And this is kind of nice, to, holy shit, I have to get into fucking ice cold water right now from the very beginning. Like that was actually a big build up. So again, I think the goal as like a complete and only cold shower for many would probably be the goal this month. And again, this is over the next entire month. So we're not saying you need to start doing this tomorrow. You can literally set up like, okay, I'm going to do 10 seconds today. I'm going to do 20 seconds tomorrow, whatever. You can really build it up at your own pace. I think if anyone had either the appetite or was already at the point where they wanted to go beyond that, I think something like going from a cold shower to an ice bath might be an aim. I recognize that that's almost entirely dependent on what you have access to. Whether you actually have a bath in your house is not a given. You can do things like finding a clean, definitely a clean, like if you find a clean, like big garbage bin or barrel, you can just fill that with water, fill that with ice, and do a kind of like, just slide yourself in there. Some gyms also often have like cold pools. Depends on the gym, but that's also an option. Even like at the end of the day, if you have a friend or family member around you that does have a bath, another like a big one, a big step going from showers to like 3, 5. I actually probably wouldn't even recommend going longer than 5 minutes in an ice bath. Be a good one. And then, of course, along the way, there's a whole lot of things you can play with. I think there are almost like mechanisms that you can play with. One is just whether you're in cold or not, right? How much time do you spend in hot water versus cold water? It's probably the biggest one. Once you're doing cold water specifically, you can do time, right? How long are you actually with and in the cold? Because big difference between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. Also a big difference in how you'll feel afterwards between 30 seconds and 3 minutes. I think one of the last ones that you could play with is, I would call it something like composure. Like, how collected are you in that? Are you just like freaking out, being like, is this done yet? Is this done yet? Is this done yet? Shivering, like shaking, like trying to distract yourself? Or can you actually just like root down, be with the cold, I guess is the best way to say it. So ratio of cold, actual time, and kind of composure or mindset in the cold. Those are nice. And then of course, I think this one really depends on where you're at, but just experimenting with different mixes, right? Like if you're good with cold showers, you could try an ice bath. If you're good with both of those, you could try like heat change, like sauna, ice bath, or like really hot water, really cold water. That stuff I'm hesitant to make a strong recommendation around, just because, again, there's serious considerations if you're doing like temperature cycling, right? You can get kind of fainty. If anyone does, this might be something I'll ask like halfway through. If anyone wants to kind of go a little further, we could actually set up a call for that. One of the examples is like, I did an ice bath that was, if anyone has met Justin Knopp, he's done some courses and facilitation and stuff with us before. And I mean, I did a session with him randomly where I actually had like my laptop like set up beside the bath, and he like guided us on a breathwork protocol like while we were in there. And I definitely wouldn't have done that had I not had that. And I also definitely wouldn't have gone as long as I did if I didn't have that. But yeah, I think giving some thought, maybe today, maybe this entire month, just on where you think you're at and what a strong like aim for this month would be. And of course, we'll have the community, we'll have the check-in calls, and we'll have the Telegram chats just along the way so you can share how it's going, questions, comments, concerns. Does anyone have questions on that before move a little bit forward on it? That seems pretty straightforward. Also, at the end of the call, I'll share out literally just a Google spreadsheet. So if anyone wants to do like real public accountability, like did you do the thing today or not, you can add that. But it's also a nice place to actually write out what your aim is, what you'd like to have done by the end of the month. Again, completely up to you and where you're at. There's no right or wrong goal to have for the end of this month, but actually having it written in public somewhere is a good way to keep ourselves grounded and going in this. Yeah, Jesse.
Is there temperature range that finds the balance between the minimum effective dose, like the minimum or maximum temperature, I guess, and the like when it starts to get dangerous?
Yeah, that's a great question. Also, it really, I mean, quite frankly, it depends on what you're actually working with. Like if you're working with a shower, it's basically just like how cold can you get before the water turns off? I mean, at least with my showers, like the cold is always like right near the on. So I eventually get to a point where it's so far down that the shower just stops. Um, yeah, pool temp. Yeah, I mean, if you had like the real hardcore setup would be like if you had a bath and you had bags of ice and you had a like a what are they like a laser thermometer, whatever. Like you could actually um, take the temperature of the water. And I mean, quite frankly, the colder the better if you wanted to do cold exposure, because your limit there will actually be how close can you get to freezing before it becomes ice. Basically, like you can do this stuff in 1 degree, 2 degree Celsius water. Actually getting it there is not always the easiest thing. Keeping it there is not always the easiest thing. Most approachable is like go to a convenience store, buy those bags of ice, fill up your bathtub, put a bag in, let it acclimatize for a minute or two, and then slowly get in. Yeah, I think as a general rule of thumb, uh, if you're uncomfortable doing a start to finish cold shower, I think that should probably be the aim. If anyone wants to do or has access, even the ability to do like an ice bath sit, we can, and I would happily set up a call to do that. Um, just because you almost want someone there with you. Because yeah, it can't get cold. And I mean, if you're doing like a minute or 3 minutes, you're pretty much fine. If you're trying to do like 15, that becomes a much more, I don't want to say serious, but like, yeah, you need to be aware. Someone should know what the fuck you're doing. Someone should be able to come into that room, right? Yeah, but we will talk through that stuff, because at the same time, like with all the caution and consideration, like they are extremely powerful. 10 minutes in ice will teach you a whole fucking lot about yourself. And when your mind starts going, I don't want to do this, can I just find an excuse to leave? Are we done yet? Like that is where some of the greatest work comes, right? You get to really see like how sneaky you are, kind of just backing out of your own commitments, or on the other hand, seeing how much you're capable of at the same time. Uh, so maybe a roundabout way to say it, I don't think it's so much a temperature thing. I think it's just recognizing what level of intensity you're trying to do and if you feel equipped to do that. I think almost even probably for the first 2 weeks, I think the collective goal should be something like, let's just do completely cold showers. Let's build up to that point. If we all, and for whoever gets there, whoever's comfortable with that, we can talk through, yeah, what going a little bit further looks like. Jumping in would, hesitant to call it a bad idea, definitely not ideal, because yeah, if you jump in, particularly if you're coming from like hot, yeah, I mean, you can shock yourself. And by that, I don't mean like electric shock. I mean, yeah, Jessica, it depends on your heart. Like there is a straight up concern of like jumping in. You can go into a state of shock if it's that cold and if your body's not used to that at all. The move would be like, I guess for an example, the time I did it with Justin, we did 25 minutes and an entire, 20% of that was spent getting in. Like literally feet slowly go down on the hands and knees, get your face wet, sit down, slide down, like 5 minutes. You can imagine how long it takes you to actually go all the way down in 5 minutes. Like, because yeah, it also just sets you up, I think, for a harder time if from moment zero, you're just sitting there like, oh, fuck, oh my God, this thing is so intense. Like, it's actually, you can make it a little easier for yourself by not just jumping in. And there's also what would you call it? like secondary effects, I guess, of like being with it instead of just doing the kind of rip the band-aid off. Like really going in intentionally can be just as powerful as however long you actually spend in there. Yeah, timing. I really like, so yeah, Sarah's question, what do people do from a practical side for actually measuring timing? Part of it is up to you. I mean, at the end of the day, I really liked Sam's share around straight up just counting to like 150. Yeah, Bailey's is also solid. Bring in a piece of music that you know is like whatever. I know this song is 5 minutes long. It takes me half of it to get in. I know that I'm doing like a 2-minute cold shower. You can also just take the straight up approach of like, yeah, start a timer on your phone for 5 minutes with the expectation that it's going to take you 2 or something to really get in. And then when it goes off, you can be done. Probably one of my favorite parts of cold exposure, ice bath stuff is like, and I think this is one of the things that for me is translated to almost everything else in my life is like the first 30 seconds are the worst. Almost unanimously, like consistently, it's always the worst because yeah, the minute you get into something that cold, your body goes into a whole like survival process. And it starts like generating a whole fucking lot of heat. And actually, like, come the minute mark, you can actually have a fairly good time of it. I dare say, like, it actually doesn't feel that bad. It is always just the first little bit. And I mean, I think everything is like that. Sitting down to write in front of a blank page is always worse than the moment you have 2 paragraphs down and you're like, oh, yeah, I can keep doing this. Yeah, Sarah, did that do a good enough answer for you? Yeah, I think straight up, just bring a timer with you. If you have a roommate, you can ask them to knock, anything like that. Yeah, Yana. Yeah, question. How long are we actually talking? I think I'm going to probably be pretty consistent with this, which is like, I think it's really up to you. I think the first aim period should be almost the binary of did you do it? Like cold shower start to finish, even if it's a minute, is a significant step above like the 4 minutes in hot water, 1 minute in the cold. Like just it switches a lot. So actually just going from start to finish, I think that's what I meant by the kind of protocols a few minutes ago. Like the first one is like, do you have any hot at all as a kind of starting period? Yes or no? And then from there, I think your aim would be try to do the entire thing cold. If you can do that as like, is the entire thing cold? Yes or no? If you answer yes, then you can start messing around with timing. You know, can I do a minute? Can I do a minute 30? Can I do 2 minutes? Can I do however long? Yeah. And I think actually, particularly for showers, thanks, Jesse. I think particularly for showers, like actually even, I don't think you'll get much beyond like 4 or 5 minutes. Like once you've been in it that long, like you're pretty much good. Your body's gone through the whole physiological response. Like you've gotten basically what you needed to get there. I think ice baths are a little different because you can keep their temperature colder longer. And again, you're not kind of wasting as much water. Yeah, there is something to the 3 to 5 minute range for sure. Yeah. And yeah, actually, let me write this down. I'll hunt down some of the resources on like timing, safety stuff, get some actual reasons behind this. Yeah, it's what I love this stuff. I'm also excited about this one because I think this is going to be more group based than some of the other months where it's been pseudo lecture focused. Because yeah, I mean, we can collectively build our own stuff here. Yeah, Bailey's comment kind of shifts my answer. Like, I think if you would aim for anything by the end of the month, a start to finish 3-minute cold shower would be a fantastic aim. Like, just really fantastic. And just, again, if you can do the timing, then you can try to do the composure thing, because there's also a big process from going from like, oh, I hate this, I hate every second of it, to like, yeah, I'm here, this is cold, that's okay, let's keep going. Yeah, it's really good practice. Cool, we're doing fairly well on time. So the activity-based part of today that I wanted to focus on, which for me was the biggest like unlock to doing completely cold showers, which is one, ways to heat yourself up beforehand, because honestly, that'll take care of everything. If you can be hot before you get in the shower, the cold right from the beginning will actually be a gift rather than deterrent. So I have a few ideas on that. And then in regards to the composure one, some breath work flows have helped me a lot. There's something, it's one of my favorite framings of cold showers and cold exposure stuff is like meditation on hard mode, right? If you can actually just track your breath while that stuff is happening, it is significant, and you can stay focused in damn near anything at that point. So yeah, I have a few breathing techniques we can do here. I would love to hear if anyone has any that has worked for them. You can either share it here or you can share it along the way as we go. I mean, I will share probably the most obvious, also the most accessible one, which is do a really intense workout right before you do this. Like if you're sweating coming in and you're super hot, like goodness gracious, cold from the get-go will be a blessing. I recognize some people might not want to shower or exercise like right before showering in the morning. So there are a few ways you can breathe actually to generate a bunch of heat inside of you as well. And yeah, so this two part of like preparing to go in. And if you can do that and the start is easy, you can almost always make it 3 minutes. The start again is a huge obstacle, probably the only obstacle. And then a few techniques to do along the way. Again, I feel, yeah, before we do a few of these together, like another huge kind of signpost of like combining serious breath work with anything to do with the water is significant and potentially dangerous. I would not actually recommend doing a lot of the breathing stuff in the water. There have been a lot of stories, particularly as Wim Hof stuff was getting more popular, of people doing like blackouts and fainting and getting dizzy. I think it's worth recognizing that those stories almost only ever come up when they're combining both of them, like really intense breath work with cold. If you're not doing that, you're pretty much good to go, but always worth recognizing. So a lot of the stuff we'll do here, I think you can and should do before going in as a way to kind of just put yourself in a good state rather than using it as a mechanism to do inside of it. So I guess another raise of hands here. Has anyone ever tried Wim Hof's breathing technique? Like who has messed around with Wim Hof? Yeah, about half. Awesome. Because I mean, his breathing it can definitely help. I think we'll do that. I have one other that we're gonna do. Can I get a show of hands if anyone knows what box breathing is? Damn. Okay, most. Awesome. Yeah, so again, quite simply, you can think of a square. Box breathing is literally inhale, hold, exhale, hold for a predetermined consistent amount of time. I think the most common example is 3 or 4 seconds. So 3-second inhale, hold for 3 seconds, 3-second exhale, hold for 3 seconds. And you can just keep going with that. And I mean, I actually find this one, because it's not much of like an activating breath work, it's kind of just a focus technique. It's actually a calming technique. I think that's how it was used a lot in the army and military, to get people to calm the fuck down if they're in like the midst of battle or something. Really helpful when you are in the shower, because you want to like hyperventilate and your system just gets super activated. You get super uncomfortable. Just the act of controlling your breathing while you're in there, I think, is the one thing that changes the whole game, particularly if you're getting in at the beginning. Instead of going into that like, oh, this is so intense, you can actually just hold your breath. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. So yeah, I mean, I figured we may as well do this right here, right now. Yeah, if you feel in any way strange doing some breathing techniques in front of people, you can turn your video off. Because we'll do 2 or 3 of these. Yeah, so just if everyone wants to get comfy, take a seat. We'll do a few rounds just so that we all have the space to try, test, and ask questions about any of the techniques here. Cool. So you don't need to close your eyes for this. You can if you want. Really tune in and see how your body feels. So I think we'll do 5 seconds. So a 5-second inhale, 5-second hold, 5-second exhale, 5-second hold. Yeah. I'm just going to pull up the timer. We'll do a few rounds, then I'll let people sit with it for a few seconds, and we'll come back just so yeah, we all know what we mean by the techniques we're talking about. All right, so take a big breath in. Big breath out. And we'll do, okay, so inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. Exhale for 5. Hold the exhale. Inhale for 5. Hold at the top. Exhale for 5. Hold at the bottom. Inhale for 5. Hold. Exhale for 5. Hold at the bottom. Yeah, that one in particular, there's something to holding exhales that is extremely powerful in calming you the fuck down. Because you'll notice whenever you're really scared or really activated, you tend to breathe very shallow, and it's almost always inhales. It's like it's so silly doing those on camera sometimes. But both the exhale and holding exhales is a huge sign to your body that actually I'm not in danger. We can calm down and relax. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes for me, like even just holding the exhale, even when I'm not doing anything, is hard enough. Doing it when you're in something like super stressed out, you're tired, or you've overexerted, or again, if you're in the cold, doing that exhale hold is a great way of just calming down, and is really helpful for that like composure part of it. Not always the easiest, but that is a fantastic technique. Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, I once heard, I don't know why exactly, but when you're holding, I so we're apparently not supposed to hold it passively. So I can hold and then like stop the hold by blocking the breathing valve or something. So holding holding with the muscle of the lungs instead of like closing it. I heard this is important, but I don't remember why.
Yeah, you're actually foreshadowing another comment. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, Darius.
Yeah, I guess I just thought to throw a quick like technique thing I've been doing with this type of thing is like I'll sometimes use the heart rate as the counter. So like when I notice when I hold my breath, my heart rate is much more obvious. So instead of counting, I'll just use the beats of the heart to determine how long I should be holding or exhaling. I think that can kind of help synchronize a little bit, and it keeps me out of my head. So I just thought to add that.
Yeah, totally. Agree with both of those. So there is particularly for generating heat, there is something you can add to the box breathing, particularly actually I think exclusively on the holds, that are really helpful. In yoga, they're called bandhas or energy locks. I don't know if anyone has messed around with these. Has anyone done Kegel training? Or has anyone ever tried to stop themselves from peeing while they're in the middle of peeing? You know, that muscle. Can you imagine? All right. This sounds funny, but this is what we're here for. Like, imagine you take a pee right now. What would you do to stop? Like, that muscle contraction actually generates a fair amount of heat if you do it intentionally. Right. I'll put some links for kind of Kegel stuff, but yeah, it's funny. Just the most accessible way to like get people to learn where that muscle is straight up like pretend that you're trying to stop yourself from peeing. Like if you're trying to cut off that stream, that little contraction there. So to bring that back into the box on the holds, if you activate that and try to hold it the whole 5 seconds, might not even be that easy to hold it for 5 seconds. But that thing actually generates over time like a fair amount of heat internally. Yeah. And I think this is also what Sam was pointing to with like active holding. It's not just like, you're not just restricting it, you're actually like, compressing it, I guess. But yeah, so, I mean, at the level you're comfortable with, box breathing is really helpful. And then the holds on, the physical holds on the time holds are another great way to help you stay hot too. Particularly if you're in the bath, like if you're doing an ice bath, when it goes for minutes at a time, like just doing that cycle, you can get through the entire thing just doing that. Yeah, that one I think I shared more for when you're actually in the cold, because it helps you stop that like kind of freak out survival response. But if you are doing the kind of Kegel holds, you can use it as a way to heat yourself up before going in the shower. And again, a little bit of heat before going in takes care of a good amount of the resistance to starting from cold straight from scratch. Cool. The second one I wanted to try here is I think we could try doing the Wim Hof round. We'll do one round, or we'll do one flow of Wim as a group. Does anyone not know how to do this? Awesome. So, I mean, I'm going to be sharing my screen. There's a literal timer and you'll hear his voice like prompting it. So it's not like you need to remember this all by scratch. It's basically just a forceful inhale through your nose and a big side exhale through your mouth for several rounds, like kind of 30 rounds of that at a time. So it'll be like, and you'll see the animation that prompts you on like when to inhale and exhale. And then after about 30 rounds of that, you'll do a big inhale and a big exhale and hold the exhale basically as long as you can. It's really cool to see. And I mean, I'll share links for all this stuff. This one is really fun to do just to see how long you can actually hold your breath. It's kind of crazy, particularly if you pause the video. You can go from like a less than 1 minute breath hold to like a 2.5 minute breath hold just through this technique. It's astonishing. I'll do a big caveat for this one, as I already have. This is definitely not something to do when you are in the shower. This is definitely something you could use as preparation for it. But yeah, not recommended to do it live. Miss Jordan, good to see you. So let me cue this up. And again, this one can look a little funny, so if you don't want to be on video for this one, you do not have to be on video. Oh, I can't see everyone. Oh, that's a little weird. One sec. Let me see if I can change this. There's no way I can see people. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure I'm going to overcome that, but it seems like most people are locked in. So I will just start this and we'll go from here. Yeah, it should take about, you can see, like 10 minutes or so. So let's do this.
Hi guys, welcome. This is a guided breathing session. Relax to the deepest. Lie down, sit down, whatever it takes. Relax. Are you ready? Here we go. Round number 1. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Just go with the flow of the breath. In, out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in and let go. All right. 1 minute breath hold from now on. Be in this moment. Let the body do what the body is capable of doing. Be aware of your heartbeat. Slow it down and just be in this moment. Let that relaxation spread down to your toes, into your fingertips, to the base of your neck and head. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. Okay, recovery breath in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 2. Back into that rhythm. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. In with peace, out with stress. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Nice, deep, circular breaths. 5 more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And on the exhale, stop. 1.5 minute breath hold from now on. Feel. Become aware of your body. If your hands and feet are tingling, or you feel your body temperature is changing, that's okay. You're doing fantastic. If you need to breathe before I give the cue, that's okay. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. When you're ready, fully in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go. Round number 3. Back into that rhythm. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In with the relaxation, out with the stress. In, out. In, out. In, out. Into the belly, into the chest, and let go. Like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in and letting go. Just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and exhalation. In with peace, out with stress. Ten more. Fully in, let it go. Nice, deep, circular breaths. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in. And on the exhale, stop. 1.5 minute breath hold from now on. Become aware of the blood running through your veins, your heart beating. Feel. Thirty seconds left. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe. All right. Breathe in and hold for 15 seconds. Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go.
All right, take a few breaths. Check in with your body. And start coming back here when you're ready. Yeah, funny side note with cold exposure and Wim Hof. If you were ever interested in trying to stop coffee or caffeine intake, Wim Hof in a cold shower is basically a coffee replacement. It's unbelievable, particularly in the mornings. God damn. Yeah, so one, curious to hear how that was for anyone. What happened in your body? How were the breath holds? Yeah, if you've done that before. I guess a few comments on my end. Again, not recommended to try that inside of a cold shower or inside of an ice bath. It's amazing to do afterwards, but it's also a nice way if you give a couple minutes in between. Like, it's a nice way to get your body like ready to go in. It can generate some heat, particularly if you do those like locks while you're doing the breath holds. It can be crazy powerful. Also, just a very interesting challenge if you load that video up yourself to see actually how long you can hold your breath just after a few rounds of those breathings. It's actually remarkable. Like, some of the first times I did that, I could get like 30 to 40 seconds, maybe, on an exhale hold. And on that thing, you're already pushing like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes if you pause for a bit. It's scary how impressive that is. Yeah, I mean, floor is open if anyone has a share. Not to put you on the spot, but Jan, I think that was your first time. I'd be super curious to hear how that landed.
Yeah, so this was my first time. I do have, on the other hand, I do have the, the Othership app that I won a year subscription of, and I've got a love-hate relationship with it, and this as well, because like I get so dizzy, and it doesn't get better, and I feel like it's kind of laborious for me to do the in breaths. The breathing out is the easy part. The taking the breath in, especially through my nose, it gets quite painful, like really stinging in my nose. So I really enjoy the holding on the exhale, because I find that incredible. Like, to be able to do 1.5 to 2 minutes, that was brilliant. The first 1.5 minutes, I was catching my breath minute in, but the second time it was suddenly like it was easy. So also depends like whether I'm lying down or sitting. I think because now I was sitting, I found it quite difficult. Like, I think because my back is not very comfortable. It was, I've got a love-hate relationship with it. So breathwork is tough. And I'm hoping, I'm still waiting for like that moment where suddenly I'm going to be like getting it and something's going to be changing, but it's not yet. So it's not easy.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that as well. Yeah, it stings a little bit. A little bit in your nose. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Darius, yeah.
Yeah, I can tag I share some of the things that you shared, Jana. Like, although I didn't quite feel the stinginess, there was like a sense. I think I've done this once before, and there's like a point maybe in the second round where you're doing the circular breathing. I think the first time I did it, my mind was like, "This is boring," and then it starts to get behind a little bit. Like when I'm just like, I guess I'll inhale. Okay, I guess I'll exhale. Then it starts to like draw back a couple of seconds. And then there's parts of it that felt a little scary. Like I could almost tell my like consciousness was kind of like shifting in levels of like cessation. Like as the breath becomes more intense, I feel almost like I'm leaving my body a little bit. And that is like a scary sensation, or because like there's different states that can be attached to that feeling. So I was definitely going through that in the process. Feel fine now, but that was definitely stuff I was noticing as it was happening. It was like, I felt this before. It wasn't great though. So really interesting experience. And I definitely felt like I just had like 2 cups of coffee. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's one of those things, at least in my relationship with breathwork, it's one of those things where I always go a period of time, particularly when I'm like by myself at home, like not doing it. And then I come back to it. I'm like, this literally just requires my breath and me sitting my ass down. Why do I not do this like every fucking day? It's ridiculous. Yeah, Samuel.
Yeah, I think I know why I'm not doing it. What Jana said, it's like that. Just again, this experience where I think in the second round definitely didn't happen. This strong intensity of, I don't know how much this is related for me personally, only because of my stomach. It always feels full, and then the pressure, and that's kind of, there may be something scary there for me, or like just like the intensity of it, and there's just everything screaming, like maybe similar to the cold shower, like stop. But because when I encountered Wim Hof like many years ago, it was nothing other than like, I can breathe, I can hold the breath for 2 minutes or something. Other than that, was nothing special. And when I did like last year a Stoic breath, where it's kind of the same, but like he's doing this with music and everything, and it's just the whole experience just more nicer. and then in the relaxation, or like in the holding, in the phase where you breathe out, where you relax, then there's this the real cool stuff happening actually, where you link this kind of what's best metaphor, like the warm bath, or like grass, and it's just shiny and it's like beautiful, and so when now I know this is coming, I can go through this, but it felt now again so scary and intense that it just, because I was thinking, okay, why not doing this again more often? That's why it's so intense. Yeah, it's, I don't know. For me, it's really intense. But then afterwards, and in the relaxation phase, I felt so good.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, it is. There is something unbelievably magical about that, holding the exhale state, particularly in between breathwork rounds. It's worth messing with just to see what your own experience is like, because it is something special a lot of the time. We won't do a guided round of this, but I put a link in the chat, and I'll share this in the community in a proper resources page. But particularly under the context of generating heat before going into the shower, there's something called the breath of fire, which, I mean, the name is fairly straightforward. It generates a stupid amount of heat, and it is basically rapid inhale and exhalation through your nose. It's basically like really exaggerated, very quick. But yeah, you do 30 seconds to a minute of that. And some of the ways I've seen it done, you can incorporate body movements into it. Like you can like rotate, you can do arm movements with the inhale and exhale, and yeah, you can get a good amount of heat going there. But maybe to bring back one of my earlier points, if you really want to generate some heat before going in, like do 30 push-ups, like do some exercise or some like jumping jacks and stuff before going in. That will really help. But yeah, the three different breathwork techniques we just did or covered can be really helpful in generating some heat. Box breathing and holds, Wim Hof, breath of fire, all fairly good at helping with that. I'm tracking time. I really want to kind of wrap or just let people sign off soon. So one last thing I'll share is, if anyone wants a level of public accountability with this, I'm putting together a spreadsheet here, which is quite literally, I think we're going to do two things. One, name. Two, what do you actually want to work towards in 30 days? And I mean, I'll add this right now. Yeah, like at what point, what am I trying to say here? What goal do you have for 30 days? Is it just a straight up cold shower? Is it trying to get into an ice bath? Is it some combination? Is it increasing your composure in it? So we'll write down the intention, and then we'll basically just have a check-in sheet. And I mean, I'll put this in Telegram and Mighty every few days, so you don't have to like keep this open on your computer or anything. But yeah, we can then use the upcoming week's calls as like check-ins, like, yo, you're missing a few. Is there anything you want to talk about? How have they been so far? But yeah, I really want to start, I guess, experimenting or testing or really figuring out how we can, both for the cold immersion month, but also just more generally, how we can start really bringing in some like sacred accountability structure into this space. Because I think that could be one of the most powerful things we do here, is just keep each other in loving accountability to the things that we say we're going to do. Yeah, so I guess the final kind of sign off recap. One, take this seriously, but take it carefully, right? Cold is no joke. Ice is no joke. Breathwork is no joke, as we've all collectively discovered just now. I would check in with yourself And if you want to talk it through, you can always message me of like, what would you like to aim for over the next 30 days? I think for many of us, it will probably be getting to a completely cold shower, and then maybe messing with the amount of time that we actually spend in the water. But of course, depending on where you're at, depending on where you're comfortable with, you can tinker with that as needed. Yeah, and I think the only last ones are you can pair overcoming this resistance with exploring some of the monthly themes from the past few weeks, right? I think there's a huge overlap between overcoming resistance and dealing with your inner critic. Those have a very nice complement. And yeah, generate a bit of heat beforehand. If you are just starting, like start with a normal shower and just do 10 seconds at cold at the end, then do 20, then do 30, right? And like we have, more or less 30 days to do this. This isn't something you need to snap your fingers and start doing perfectly tomorrow. I wouldn't even recommend trying to do it full steam just starting tomorrow, because again, if you miss one day, you'll lose motivation, won't want to do it again. But if you build up really slowly, we can all collectively generate some momentum over time and kind of be surprising where we get to by the end of it. And yeah, we have the public tracker. I'll put it in Telegram. I'll put it in Mighty and Circle. And we can keep going. And yeah, the flash forward for the next 3 weeks, I'll probably have 10 to 20 minutes of like other activities we can do related to cold the next few weeks. But a lot of them, I think we're going to start diving into like how can this translate out into other areas in your life, really digging into some resistance, momentum building. So bringing this back down to a kind of personal, practical level above and beyond just dealing with cold.